Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Salle High School. 2014 marks the 65th year, the beginning of our 65th year of service, that the brothers and those of us who are laymen to work with them of service to our family and our community here on the Avenue. At De La Salle, we begin everything with a prayer, and tonight will be no exception. I call Brother Michael Lividay, member of the Brothers of the Christian School, to come forward and lead us in a moment of prayer. Brother Michael.
Let us remember that we're in God's presence. As we gather together from all parts of the city, we are reminded that God's presence does not gather. It doesn't get switched on. It doesn't roll up like the river. It doesn't get begun or instigated. God's presence is here, and we bask in it. He is closer to us than we are to ourselves. In God's presence, I want to quote the gentleman whose legacy we honor today, Dr. Martin Luther King, when he wrote many years ago, before he got buffeted, before he had life teach him many, many lessons, before the difficulties and struggles he had. He wrote this as a college student. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That's the goal of true education. My task tonight is, in God's presence, to lead you in prayer and to express in prayer our extraordinary joy and happiness at having the Honorable Kenneth Polite with us. Kenneth was here as a student when I was here, and I think he is one of the finest we've ever had come through our doorways. He has absorbed what the brothers have been doing for over 333 years, teaching minds and touching hearts. In God's presence tonight, we thank the Father for Kenneth, and we hope that what we have tried to be as a school that provides quality education, is exemplified in our brother Kenneth as valedictorian and outstanding members of our speech and theater programs. That we have taught Kenneth well the other aspects of our LaSallian school: respect for all persons, being an inclusive community. De La Salle, in my judgment, is one of the most inclusive schools we have in our district. Concern for social justice and the poor. That's going to be up front and center in Kenneth's future. And perhaps most important, our reliance and our reiteration every day with our students: faith in the presence of God. We ask our Father to bless this community, to smile on our joy, on our happiness at having had Kenneth come through our doors. We ask him to grant him patience, wisdom, and courage. There's a television commercial going on right now that quotes Walt Whitman, one of my favorite quotes: "Let the powerful play go on, and you may contribute a verse." And you may contribute a verse. In prayer tonight, I think we should have immense confidence that the verse that Kenneth Polite will provide us will be outstanding. In God's presence tonight, we have him, we hold him, we bless him, we give him back to the community to create his own unique verse. And as he moves out from us, we hope that he remembers his roots as a child of God and a son of St. LaSalle. St. John Baptist de LaSalle, live Jesus in our hearts.
Thank you, Brother Michael. I'm going to, just a moment, call Shelby Boyd, one of our student council co-presidents, up to the podium to introduce Senator Landrieu. But first, I want to recognize a few other distinguished guests here. First of all, our principal, Ms. Peggy St. John, is here with us tonight. Ms. St. John. We also have two distinguished De La Salle graduates who, along with Kenneth, participated in a panel with our students just a brief time ago, and that is Rafa Goyeneche, the head of the Metropolitan Crime Commission, and the District Attorney for the City of New Orleans, Leon Canizaro. Leon, thank you. In addition, joining Kenneth is his wife and his mother. I'd like to ask Shelby Boyd to come up to offer a few words of welcome and to introduce Senator Landrieu. Shelby?
Good afternoon. I am Shelby Boyd, a senior at De La Salle, Student Council co-president, and I have just recently completed my term as District 1 Secretary for the Louisiana Association of Student Councils. It is my honor to welcome you to our campus and thank you for joining us on this special day. 2014 marks the 65th anniversary of the founding of our school. This is the most fitting way to begin this year of celebration by honoring Mr. Polite and his accomplishments both during his time here as a student and beyond. And today it is my true pleasure to be able to introduce to you and welcome to De La Salle our own United States Senator, Senator Mary Landrieu, to offer some remarks. Join me in giving a real cavalier welcome to Senator Landrieu.
Thank you all so much. Please be seated. It's such a joy to be back in the Cavalier Den next to the Cavalier shop. I came here many times as a student, Ken, 20 years before you were here. I was just saying, feeling very old tonight. But for the students, it takes a lot for an Ursuline lion to walk into the Cavalier Den, let me tell you. And I remember coming in for speech tournaments and competitions, and it's wonderful to be back. And of course, growing up in this neighborhood, not very far away, passing by De La Salle year after year. So I'm so happy to be here with you all. And Betsy Gamble, thank you for getting me here tonight. And she said, you've got to come and introduce Ken, so it's my great honor to present him to you all. He needs no introduction into the school that he graduated, and I hope the students have heard all about him, because your principal was the superstar. Miss Peggy was your superstar at his swearing in, and she gave the most beautiful talk with the Attorney General of the United States present, and talked so beautifully, Ken, about you. I thought your wife and your mother were going to pass out. No? Is that the guy that we know? Is that really the guy that we know? And but it was just wonderful. We had the Attorney General of the United States present, swearing in this wonderful young man to be the U.S. Attorney for our city. Peggy, you gave just such very intimate and wonderful insight into the kind of student he was here at De La Salle, and all of you students need to be challenged, because not only did he win like all of his contests and everything from what I hear, and his speaking and his oratory, but he also got straight A's. So I want to see all the hands go up of A students back there. All right, let me see. Come on, raise your hands. I know there are a few of you all back there. All right, very good. But, as Father Michael said, it's intelligence, but with character. And when you put that together, what the brothers here, what the sisters at Ursuline taught us, the Dominican sisters, there's so many orders of faith in our community that teach children about, yes, being smart, knowing your history, geography, et cetera, and now you're social media and being adept on computers, etc. But all of that is important, but the most important is character. So as a United States Senator, when I have the privilege, as a senator, you get the privilege to nominate to the president people that should serve as a federal judge or as a U.S. attorney or as a U.S. marshal and other positions of importance. So I take the lessons that I was taught and that I know that De La Salle has taught Kenneth when I'm thinking of all the people in the country that I could recommend to the president to say, Mr. President, this person really should have your eye and your ear in terms of looking at them to be a federal judge or looking at them to be a U.S. attorney. So I had this very open process, and Leon will be a little familiar with this. Thank you, Mr. DA, and others that know how my office operates. A very open process to try to find, just the right person to recommend. And I can tell you, when Ken Polite came in front of me, not before he came, his resume came, I had to look at it 3 times to believe it. It was so wonderful. And then when I got to meet him in person, it was like God spoke directly and said, this is the guy. And I feel strongly that God leads us in ways to tap others to help serve. And I just knew this would be the right person. So sure enough, recommended. The president didn't, say twice. He said, this guy's terrific, and here we are. So he really does not need to be introduced to this group. You know of his extraordinary history here at De La Salle. But I would want to point out just a few things that you may not know about Ken. He grew up in the 9th Ward of New Orleans. He saw firsthand the struggles of crime, the struggles against drugs, the struggles of violence. When he grew up, he still carries those ideas and visions and thoughts in his heart about how he can help this city and this community. He took a great deal of message and truth from De La Salle, but he went on to be an extraordinary student in his college career, and then of course was a clerk in the federal judiciary, and now is bringing that whole talent from growing up in our city, educated here at De La Salle, extraordinary credentials in his college years, and then clerking, and then serving as under a U.S. attorney in the New York office to come down here and lead our office. And I know with the leadership in the city, he is going to be the right person at the right time to help bring a message of social justice to our city and to our region. And I want to thank De La Salle and the students for the work that you are doing on the One Book Project and the book that you all are reading, I think Tattoo on the Heart. And the lessons that are taught in that book about justice and peace, and that there won't be peace until there's justice. We all need to be working on justice every day, and we could not be celebrating this event on a better day than Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. So we've had many events all day. I know you were in New Orleans earlier. I was in Baton Rouge at Reverend Jemison's church, which was the forerunner of the bus boycott. The very famous bus boycott actually was modeled in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, out of Mount Zion Baptist Church, where Reverend Jamison, who just died this year after preaching from that pulpit for 60 years, was really the model for that bus boycott. So Louisiana has a great history of being engaged in the civil rights movement, and Ken Polite will take us the next 20 or 30 or 40 years. He's so young. Would you all welcome Ken Polite, our new U.S. Attorney.
Mary Landrieu. This is what De La Salle is all about. Let me tell you, it is amazing to see this turnout from our alumni base and our student base. I thought that today was a full day of school. When I walked in, I said, Michael, did you bring these kids in for school today? He said, no, they didn't have a day off. You had a day on. You had a day on, a day of service, a day where you just made the decision to be here and participate in this event, as well as a panel discussion that we just had
regarding that book that the Senator referenced, Tattoos on the Heart. It was a fantastic event. And so I'd like you all to give yourselves a hand to the alumni base, to our students. De La Salle is coming back, and we are coming back better than ever. This is indeed a fitting day for us all to be here on a day when we celebrate Dr. King's legacy of servant leadership. I have the honor of being here today with modern day servant leaders like Senator Landrieu and District Attorney Leon Cannizzaro and the head of the Metropolitan Crime Commission, my dear friend Rafael Goyeneche. Without the Senator's recommendation and without the vocal support of these two fellow Cavaliers, I would not be in this position of service today. You see, I also have the honor of being here with De La Salle's teachers and their administrators, who work tirelessly to impart the notion of community above self. There's a reason why our teachers are so great, why so many of them, like Peggy St. John and Dr. Kerr and Brother Michael and Mr. Stabler and Mr. Hebert, are so effective. They're so effective year after year after year, and in some cases, decade after decade after decade. You see, they are blessed. They walk in the path of St. John Baptist de La Salle, the patron saint of teachers. Every prayer that we offer, every prayer that is uttered amongst our LaSallian community is in fact a blessing of our teachers. But most importantly, I have the honor of being here with you, our young people, our student leaders, people like Julian and Shelby, your student body co-presidents, and other young people who have taken up the mantle of servant leadership in our community. My senior year, let me talk for a moment about my senior year. That's a picture of my valedictorian speech. My wife mentioned, you look real brown in that picture, by the way. I don't know what I look like now, but this picture over here, so I was Quiz Bowl captain for 2 years. Man, I had some hair. It says that our score is 0. That's the beginning of the competition. Not the end. We used to do pretty well in Quiz Bowl. But when I was a senior, Brother Jeff was the principal here. Brother Jeff, he used to make sure that I was a humble person. He was the only person who ever called me Kenny on a regular basis. He knew that was his little dig. But there was always a method to his madness. And Brother Jeff, when I was a senior and I was in the shoes of Julian and Shelby serving as student body president here, he made the decision to change the name of our student body government from Student Council, C-O-U-N-C-I-L, to Student Council, C-O-U-N-S-E-L, S-E-L, to underscore the notion that leaders are not called to simply govern. They're not called in any form or fashion to serve themselves, but instead they are called to counsel, to advise, to uplift, to advocate for those in their respective communities. Julian and Shelby are doing just that by organizing a student-led march against violence in our community. I look forward to participating in that march on April 12th, and I hope that as many of you as possible can join me for that event. In preparation for today's social justice panel discussion, I read the one book that was referenced by the Senator, Tattoos on the Heart. It is a profound book. It is a profound book, which I certainly commend to each and every one of you to read. But there is one particular quote that stood out for me. And the quote is, "Not much in my life makes sense without God." I imagine that quote applies to each and every one of us here. You see, I have done very little, in my estimation, to garner this level of recognition. But as I stand before you today, I accept it in the name and honor of my family, my teachers, and my mentors, who have provided me with the opportunities and the resources that have made me the person I am today and have given me a model to become the leader I hope to be. I ask only for your prayers. In exchange, I promise to ensure that justice reaches out to each and every resident of Southeast Louisiana, and I promise to do my very best to make you proud to be a Cavalier. Each and every day, I promise to sing out, De La Salle, lead on. Thank you.
Kenneth, don't sit down so fast. I ask our principal and your favorite teacher to come up and join me for a special presentation. Please join us. Peggy. Kenneth, you have inspired us in more ways than we could ever express. We're here to walk with you in your journey of service in our community. We know that we stand in our city at a critical point of choosing, and we choose life. We choose peace. We choose justice. And we choose to work with you in any way we can to form a community that is shaped by the values that we hold so dear in our hearts and so dear here at De La Salle. Well, we have some very small tokens of our pride in your accomplishments tonight, and I'm going to ask Ms. St. John to help present that. First of all, we've got a gift from our alumni representing there and your Cavalier brothers and sisters. It's a framed copy of today's program. And we hope you can display that with pride. And another small, he doesn't get the easel, Peggy. All right. We're on a tight budget, you know? It's a Catholic school, what can I say? And of course, we have another present, again, just a small token of our appreciation for you, Kenneth, and your family and everyone. Thank you so much again. Don't leave yet. And finally, I have the honor of announcing a special scholarship award that's been established in your name. Beginning with this year's graduating class, the faculty and administration will designate one graduating senior as a winner of the Kenneth A. Polite Jr. Award for Leadership and Service. This award will be given to the senior who most exemplifies the characteristics that you displayed during your career at De La Salle and beyond. A dedication to scholarship, a passion for leadership, and a devotion to service. It will carry with it a financial award that will support their first year in college. I cannot think of a better example and inspiration for our students than the one that you have provided. Please join me in appreciation for one of our own, Kenneth Polite, the class of 1994. Okay, you can have a seat now. And I'll ask Julian Papura, class of 2014, to come forward to offer some remarks and to introduce Brother David to close us in prayer.
Hello, my name is Julian Papura, and I am a senior here at De La Salle and Student Council Co-President. On behalf of all of our students and their families, I would like to extend gratitude to Senator Landrieu and Mr. Polite and all of our other distinguished guests for their honored service today. Past weekend, I attended Louisiana Association of Student Councils convention, where over 1,000 young people from over 100 schools across our great state gathered to share one common characteristic: leadership. Being surrounded by so many other enthusiastic students who want to take on the task of leading and serving our community is truly inspiring. I believe our students have demonstrated that trait today. We are prepared to meet the challenges of leadership and service that await us. We are inspired by all of you. We know that the time to make a difference is now, and we are ready. And now, I would like to invite Brother David Sinter, Auxiliary Visitor of the New Orleans Santa Fe District of the Brothers of the Christian Schools, to come forward and close our assembly with prayer.
Thank you very much. Prayer of thanksgiving for the answer to Ken Polite's why question. Let us remember that we're in the presence of our personal God. In that presence, we pray that Ken, as a servant leader, experiences his personal God, calling him to be a breaker of those barriers that diminish our humanity by helping build a world where everyone in it can have a better chance to live, to love, and to be who he, she are in the infinite variety of our humanity. It has been said, the two most important days in one's life are the day we are born and the day we know why. Today we give special thanks to God for the answer to Ken's why question. We also give thanks to everyone and everything that collectively has helped make Ken the person he is today. In a special way, we ask Ken to remember that as a cavalier, in all the rushing and doing of each day, he recalled that St. John Baptist de Salle reminds us, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience. That is why we pray. Ken constantly recalls the imperative of Jesus. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to listen. Do not be afraid to stir into flame your gifts. Do not be afraid of washing someone's feet. Do not be afraid of being his beloved disciple. Do not be afraid of rolling back the stone. Do not be afraid when he comes walking to you on the water. Do not be afraid of the treasures hidden in the field, the treasures hidden in others. And finally, do not be afraid to believe that where passion and purpose lie, there are no obstacles. We ask St. John Baptist de La Salle to intercede in a special way to achieve these blessings for Ken by praying. St. John Baptist de La Salle, live Jesus in our hearts.
Thank you. Senator Landrieu, you've honored us greatly tonight. We thank you. We thank you on behalf of all of us. And we always welcome Ursuline girls to visit Dallas. But when we beat you in volleyball, just gotta get over it. All right? I neglected to mention earlier another special guest. I just want to thank her for being here. Jan Lancaster, who's the superintendent of schools of the Office of Catholic Schools in the Archdiocese, and a good friend of Del Sal. Jan, thank you so much for being here.
Please stay as long as you desire to mingle, to have good fellowship, and thank you all for coming tonight.